We are here at the Sacramento riverfront. Right now it's pretty low because California's in drought season, but you can see how high the river can get because of the walls here. So it's been known to flood, but of course many times they've built up the walls to protect from flooding here at the Sacramento River.
We are starting today's adventure on the relatively quiet banks of the American River in beautiful Sacramento. This river is beautiful, but it can also be deadly. Today, when you visit the historic area of Sacramento, you think you are seeing the original Sacramento. But the truth is you're not really seeing the original Sacramento. What you're really seeing is a second version of Sacramento. But the funny thing is, the first version of Sacramento is still here. It's just under the old floorboards. In this video, we're going to take you to the underground area and show you the real Sacramento, the one that people forgot about. Come with me as we go underground and discover the first Sacramento.
The statue over there with the horse rider is dedicated to the Pony Express. The Pony Express was a legendary mail service that could get post office letters across the United States one day in the 1850s by horse. It's a series of horses that just ran across the entire United States to get to the west.
The American River is very important for Sacramento and the entire state of California. Gold was discovered in the rivers of California back in 1848 at John Sutter's mill. You would have thought it would have made John Sutter very happy, but the truth is it didn't.
He gets on his horse, takes a day's ride from Kelowna down to Sutter's Fort, and the next day Sutter and Marshall spend the whole day doing whatever they can think of to verify what he's found is really gold. Well, you would think once Sutter realized they found gold, he'd be, Eureka, we're rich! No, just the opposite. Sutter is the land baron here. He's trying to get a community started here, get civilization started here. And he realizes that once the word of the gold gets out, there's going to be thousands of men coming here, squatting on his land, stealing his livestock, ruining his crops, and that's exactly what happens. Well, you know, it's not cheap building an empire.
The truth is, John Sutter ended up bankrupt and people started pouring into California. Some say they never stopped, but that's a different video. Point is, in a very few short years, the town was totally different. But another problem started to surface, and that was flooding.
Here, you know, all these islands out here in the front, on the riverbank, you know, but the riverbank's gone. But anyway, the tents, the barrels, and so forth, come back tomorrow, it'll all be gone, all downriver because of the flooding. Well, between 1850 and 1855, it floods every year here. And so by 1855, the city is so tired of cleaning up after the river, they sell a bond for $750,000. And what they do is they surround all of downtown with a levee. This levee works great until the winter of 1861, 1862. Where between our snowpack that year and the rain we get here, it floods the entire valley, turning it into an inland sea. The sea is 300 miles long, 20 to 50 miles wide, and 10 to 20 feet deep. This is Sacramento, 1862. You know, it looks to be about 3 to 4 feet deep here, but before the flooding is done, the flooding will be up over the awnings. It bankrupts the state. See, it destroys 1/3 of the county property. I mean, it's a true disaster. Anyway, in the years, the places.
Walking on the tour, you're going to see a lot of wooden buildings and wooden sidewalks, but curiously, you will not see many trees. This is because a lot of the wood that was used for these buildings came from the boats and the people that sailed on them to get to Sacramento. What would happen is a ship would get to Sacramento, the crew would hear about the gold, and they would abandon the ship, and so many captains would be left on an empty ship. Many ships were scrapped and made it into the first buildings of Sacramento. This building is the Eagle Theater. Back in the early days of Sacramento, there was a lot of saloons, gaming halls, and theaters. The Eagle Theater was known for their lively music. The building is typical of that era in that it was made out of a ship. It has a frame, but there wasn't enough wood, so the walls of this building are made of the canvas of the sails of the ship. It was noted in the flood of 1854 that musicians at the Eagle Theater played until the water got to their knees, at which point the musicians had to flee or they would have drowned. Flooding in Sacramento became such a problem that the building owners would just start building their buildings higher and literally buried the original first stories of their building. All of Sacramento is at least 15 feet higher than it was naturally.
Come on in.
Definitely cooler down here.
Yeah, it's nice in here in the summertime.
Yeah.
Basement equipment and so forth. Well, jump ahead to 1852. Because you got to remember, by and large, this is a city of tents and wooden structures. Well, 1852, they get a fire going here that burns the whole place down. Well, of course, the original building this year burns up. You know, and at this time, if you're smart and you have a business, you buy fire insurance because they're continually burning these places down. Well, the guy that has the original business here, he's smart. He has fire insurance, so he makes a claim, starts his new building. Gets it about half done though, and due to a lot of different factors here, you know, economy, workforce, that kind of stuff, he goes bankrupt about halfway through construction. Well, Hastings, the guy that the building is named after, he's a banker. So he comes in, he's got money, so he purchases the project and actually completes the building. And he adds another 1,000 square feet to this building because, you know, he wants extra space in order to rent out. And he's a businessman. So ultimately, Wells Fargo has an office in here. Pony Express has an office in here. The middle part of up here, this was his bank. And on the upper level of the building, this was our Supreme Court. And so historically, this was a very busy area.
At this point of the tour, we are directly under the floorboards of Main Street. And what you are seeing here is the original levee wall that was built to keep Sacramento from flooding.
L Street, from Front Street out to 12th Street are all surrounded with these brick walls. Like I say, it's like a bulkhead on a ship. And then they bring in thousands of loads of dirt and they fill in the streets. So now the street is up here, but now you got the void between the wall and the building. And so that's when they cover those heavy timbers that we saw up top. And then that's what creates the underground here.
This levee structure not only goes through Old Town Sacramento, it goes all the way to downtown Sacramento.
Another method used for preventing flooding was to raise the entire building. This was done with thousands of skipjacks that looked just like this. They would put thousands of these skipjacks underneath the building, and all at once they would pull them and it would slowly raise the building upwards.
They would toss it all into the privy.
One interesting part of this building was seeing the support structure for the gold safe. It's always funny to me when you see old cartoons where the thieves are running away with a sack of gold. Actual gold is really heavy, and it isn't just like they're gonna pick up those sacks and run away with them. You need several people to carry out gold.
What?
I said, my eyes got to adjust.
Yeah.
It's a lot darker in here than it was out there.
Yep.
In this second building, we were able to see an active dig site. A lot of the underground floors were turned into latrines. That kind of sounds gross, but you have to remember these latrines haven't been used for over 200 years, and it's kind of crazy all the things that were found in these digs. Bottles were very common. I guess people back then wanted to hide the fact that they were drinking, but my guess is if they were drinking in the latrine, they were not doing that very well. One item that was found was very interesting was loaded dice. These wooden dice were weighted so they could always throw sevens. I have to imagine 200 years ago, someone was catching on to the cheater, and in haste, the cheater had to throw the loaded dice into the latrine, and now 200 years later, they're on display. Eventually, the city was able to create dams and levees that would harness the American River, and the floods for the most part stopped. But still, even today, if the rain is intense, there is still some minor flooding in the older sections of Sacramento. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you've been watching the PedrozaTravel channel. If you didn't, does it really matter? Anyways, another video will be coming up in 10 seconds, but seriously, thank you for watching this video, and we will see you on the next one.